Hey, Jasen Rice of Lotpop. I want to give you a quick tip this week on appraisals. How not to miss cars at the curb and how not to come home empty-handed at the lane right after this. All right, let's talk about appraisals. I think it's the most important thing that's happening on your lot that doesn't get tracked or turned out. And it affects your new car inventory, affects your gross, and it affects your sales. And most stores doesn't track and turn that out. But I just came off a conference call earlier this week where a dealership was struggling with gross profit in their vehicles. And they said, by the time I buy these cars, put it through recon and conditioning and try to put this out there, I just don't have any profit left. So we started digging through the appraisals and we're not tracking those appraisals at all. So it's real important, one, to be able to confirm exactly how many appraisals you're doing a week, a day, how many are you taking in, and who's appraising them and how much are they putting into them. And if you could start tracking those appraisals and look at what you call your look to book, your closing percentage on appraisals, and you start tracking that number, you're naturally going to start getting better and better at it. So one of the things that you need to do is make sure every appraisal goes into some kind of system. Every dealership I work with works with vAuto. Once they're in that system, happens to be in vAuto, you finalize every appraisal. And then it starts tracking every manager and every appraisal, every car we put in, how much we put on it, how it compares to the market. And then once you're able to track that and track that closing percentage, if you want a rough estimate, figure out how many new and used car deals you do a month. So let's say you sell 100 cars a month, figure how many of those deals have trade-ins? Let's say 50, 60%. So you know you should have at least 60 appraisals in that system. And if you don't, you need to figure out why. Then once you start getting that number, look at how many deals of those you close. Most dealerships can run anywhere from 30 to 40, 50%. And then again, that number can vary based off of if you have a lot of subprime traffic. You might be appraising a lot of cars you don't trade for because you can't get them bought. Or you might do a big new car push this month, and then you take in a lot of trades that you stepped up on and you might have buried yourself on. So one of the quick tips though that I want to give you on appraisals, not only just tracking and trending in, is how you look at those appraisals. Here's one of the biggest mistakes. A lot of times we go into an appraisal, one, looking at wholesale data. A car that we plan on retailing, we need to be looking at retail data. Once you look at that retail data, you need to figure out an exit strategy type of approach. Again, when most mistakes are happening is we're appraising cars looking to make a $2 or $3 grand deal on it. Well, that's a day one approach. And to me, that's kind of the hope approach. I hope to trade this car and make $2 grand. And by that, when that happens, especially on the curb, you might be missing deals. Or if it happens at the lane, you're not bringing those cars home with you and you're scrambling just buying what you can. So here's a quick approach. Now again, in vAuto, I'm going to show you a little snapshot here. They kind of have a four-square approach. And in there, they're going to have your bid limit. They're also going to have your bid limit, your percentage of market, your profit, and how you rank. You also put reconditioning in there. So most dealers will have a $2,000 or $3,000 profit margin in there when they have this four-square running. And again, that's a day one approach. But think about when we used to appraise cars looking at wholesale data. We look at a dump strategy. If I trade this car, go to the auction, what can I get for it? You need to approach the retail cars the same way. We need to look at it and say, okay, when this car turns 60 days old and I'm ready to dump it, what's the minimum amount of profit I'd be willing to take at that time? And most dealers would say, man, if I can break even or make a few $100 at 60 days, I'd be good. So one strategy is to change the profit margin. Instead of $2,000 or $3,000, just put $500 profit. So what that does, it gives you about a $500 cushion. So when 60 days rolls around, if that car depreciated $500, you're breaking even. But it gives you that profit margin of $500 at 60 days. Now again, in vAuto, you can do a pricing strategy to say, okay, when it's 60 days old, I'm not pricing it 100% of market. I'm going to be pricing it probably 90%, 88%. This car will leave my lot pretty strategically. If I price it at 88%, it will leave my lot. With $500 profit, the system will kick out a number for you and tell you what your maximum number can go in on that vehicle. So this isn't a training session on vAuto, but what I want you to start thinking about is thinking about a retail exit strategy, a true one. So I said, okay, if I was ready just to dump this car, price it 10% below market, if I can just make my bare minimum profit of $500, that's your what I call put my hand down number. And what I mean by that is when we go to the lane and buy a car at the auction, we come up with a number and say, man, if the bid gets higher than 12 grand, I'm done. Well, come up with that on your retail, and a lot of guys will say they'll hit a car light, and they're going to negotiate with the customer, go back and forth, and then stop where it doesn't make sense anymore. But come up with that number at the very beginning. Put your hand down number. Let's say it's 12 grand. Figure out that number, and again, that's a true exit strategy number. That's a car I know at 60 days when I'm ready to dump it at 80%, I could still, or 88%, I could still make $500 and dump that car. Then you work it no different than the auction, okay? You pencil your deal light. The auction on a 12 grand car might start at 10 and work yourself up to 10.5, 11, 11.5, and you might be able to buy that car for 11.5, but you're willing to put your hand down at 12. If you take the same approach on a retail car, working a deal, you know your cap's 12, start to pencil at 10.5, 10, or wherever you think you can, you might be able to walk away with 11.5. But you know, if it goes at 12 or higher and you let that customer walk, there was no more money on that trade. No different than the auction car. So sorry I went long here, but there's a deeper dive into appraisals. I think a lot of dealerships are missing. One, tracking and trending out. Two, take a retail exit strategy approach, not a retail hope approach on your vehicles. If you need more information, just give me a call at 844-LOTPOP4. Email me at jrice@lotpop.com. Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, a like below, and subscribe to our channel. And check out more videos at increaseturn.com. I also have a weekly show called Lot Party on Autotainment Network. Check it out.